Next, I have some tips for exam taking and then some tips for studying. So tips for exam taking, one is that anxiety will not help you to get a good score. What is your best defense? To be prepared. So start an exam with the confidence that you'll get an A. If you don't feel like you are A material the day before an exam, send me an email or go see a tutor, but do something proactive. 2, when taking the exam, answer all questions you know first. If you cannot answer a question in about 30 seconds, skip it and go to the next one. After answering the questions you know, go back to the ones you were unsure of and answer those. So use the process of elimination to remove answers that you know are incorrect. So again, anxiety is not your friend. It turns off that frontal lobe, makes it so that you are unable to focus and unable to use the information that you have gained from studying and learning. So do whatever you can to decrease that anxiety level, decrease the stress, and feel confident going in. Again, if you don't feel like you are able to do this, if you're looking for tips or things, you can contact me. I do recommend talking to tutors or people in the Achievement Center. When you do take the exam, I do suggest that you answer all the questions that you know first. So if it takes you longer than that, about 30 seconds, skip it, go to the next one, because you will be timed and you want to make sure that you get to everything that you know, so that you get the points for the things that you know, and then you can go back and complete the ones that you are a little bit unsure of. So tips for studying. The key to memory and recall is exposure. Expose yourself to the information from class as much as possible in whatever ways work for you. So here are some ideas. 1, take the quizzes and take them many times. Of course, it's required that you take the quizzes. However, you can take them as many times as you want. So I highly recommend taking them many times. I don't get notifications or anything like that when a student is taking a quiz, so you can take them as many times as you would like, just to go through and make sure that you're getting all the questions and studying the material. 2, rewrite your notes. It's very helpful for many brains to be able to write it out. And when you write it out, you're visually seeing it in one place and then seeing it in another place and transferring that information. That can be very helpful for remembering things. 3rd, read or peruse chapters in the text before coming to class. So if we have a text in the class, that can be helpful, or even a recommended text for the class, that can be helpful if that's a way that you learn. By coming to class, if this is an online class, that just means maybe watching through the YouTube videos multiple times before you are approaching the lab, for example, or watching them multiple times before you're approaching the homework assignment, watching things or reading things multiple times before you're approaching even the notes section, if you feel like you need some more time to process that. This does not mean that everything in the text will be exam material, but it will give you a good start to understanding the material. Next, pictures speak 1,000 words. Draw pictures and diagrams from class. It doesn't matter how good or bad your diagram is, the act of creating the diagram will help you recall the information later. So even if the information is not presented in the video or a text as a diagram, you may want to organize it that way on a paper for your brain to be able to remember it, or draw these things out. Many things are drawn out and are very visual, and if you can do that, then that's another way for your brain to help remember the information. Next, many students find flashcards helpful for learning terms. The best way to learn terms is to use them. So if you can use them, I also find that I don't think I have this listed here, but in the flashcards kind of vein, or the next bullet point, which is study groups. These are extremely beneficial, but only when all students have studied first. What I often suggest to students is to repeat the information out loud. Being a teacher is the best way to solidify information in the brain, having to teach somebody else something, because you're taking the information that you have learned or are still assimilating, and you have to restructure it in your brain in a way that makes enough sense to teach it to somebody else. And so I often suggest to students to teach it to somebody else. That can be your cat or your dog, or it can be yourself in the mirror in the bathroom, or it can be another human being. So either way, spend the time to go through and visually explain it like you're giving a lecture to some other person. And not necessarily a lecture, but something where you're really trying to get a point across. Like say you and your friend are talking about something and you really want to get this point across, this information that you feel is helpful to them. If you go through and you use the material in that way, that is a really good way to solidify information in the brain. The next one is study throughout the week, and do not wait until you have to cram for an exam, because this is a recipe for failure. Experts recommend that students study 1.5 hours every day on a specific topic. So for this course, spending 1.5 hours a day on it is most beneficial for you to gain this information. So again, this can be just reading through your notes when you have time. This can be taking flashcards with you when you're waiting in line somewhere. This can be spending time with your friends or your family, standing up and explaining things, because that's what you're working on and you need the time to do that. So please do make sure that you're approaching this information, if not every day, many days throughout the week, so you're not cramming at the end. Next, try to find an environment where you can study free from distractions. So this can be very difficult, especially for parents, but this means prioritizing your time and really making use of those times that you do have. So finding those little chunks of time and really trying to make use. And that's why I was saying taking the flashcards with you somewhere where you know you have to wait, or reading them in the morning, or recording yourself. So that's another example of teaching somebody something. If you are teaching it to yourself and recording yourself, and then when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, you can listen to yourself explaining something to yourself. That's just another way to solidify things. Then lastly, use the free tutoring available at the Achievement Center. I have their phone number there again, their email there again. I noticed in the previous one I had it incorrect. It's not AAC, it's just ac@sc4.edu. Or see the portal. So you can go to Student Resources and then Support for Success.